There is no good time to get diagnosed with cancer. I was diagnosed during a particularly poignant time. My grandmother had just passed away from uterine cancer a week before, and I was actually diagnosed on the day of her funeral. So it was a really tough day for myself and my family.
They didn't know for a long time what it was, and they told me eventually it was cancer. It was a shock. It was a shock. I suspected something was wrong. I was what I thought was a healthy guy, but of course I had a giant tumor in my mouth.
I went to my regular doctor, and she noticed on my chart that I hadn't had a mammogram for about 18 months, which was really rare for me, but my husband had been very, very ill and passed away. So I went right away, and sure enough, I had cancer.
We developed new ways of scanning breast cancer using ultra-fast dynamic contrast enhanced MRI. That's such a wonderful feeling that we've actually managed to help somebody and make a contribution. About 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with colon cancer at a colonoscopy. So my screening study actually saved my life. I was thinking, how did this happen to me? I work on screening. I should have gotten myself screened all the time.
I got on the phone with Dr. Stock. She said, "Hi, Anne. I'm so sorry that you're sick right now, and we're gonna help you feel better."
Anne is a special person. We met her and her family a number of years ago when Anne was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia.
What was so wonderful about being one of Dr. Stock's patients is that I had the opportunity to be involved in one of her ongoing trials and receive an experimental drug.
I've had the pleasure of getting to know her, and she's taught me a lot about grace and intelligence and commitment.
We one day had a diagnosis, absolutely terrified, and by the next day we were speaking to a surgeon. We suddenly felt like we had a plan. It was kind of a bonding experience in a strange way.
I met Dr. Jaskowiak, and she was so wonderful, reassuring, knowledgeable, and spent more time with me than any doctor I've ever known. They had scheduled me for March, and this is 2020. The hospital was so busy, but they're so good there. We're going to put you on a drug, an estrogen suppressor, and we'll see you in June. And if we can't do surgery, then you'll have to have chemotherapy.
We go back 50 years, we were doing radical mastectomies on people, and that's kind of it. To be innovative and to say, I have an idea, this is how we've done things all along, but now I think we could do things better. People started to think about how chemotherapy can shrink things and maybe let us do smaller surgeries.
Prior to surgery, my tumor had actually shrunk. They were kind of surprised by that, but that was good news. So I had the surgery, everything went great, and I went back to see her, and she asked me, "Do you mind if we take your biopsy and use it in a study?" That biopsy is now moving on to help somebody else. So it couldn't have turned out better.
I operated for close to 24 hours, and I came home, and 3 weeks later they started chemo and radiation joint treatment.
Dimitri is a patient of mine. I first knew him in capacity where we were treating his cancer using chemotherapy and radiation.
When I was talking to Dr. Pearson, I said, I used to be a scientist and now I'm a data scientist. Maybe I can do something to help.
He's brought such terrific intellectual ideas to the lab and has contributed to a lot of the really exciting work that we have been putting out just in the last year.
Contributing to Dr. Pearson's group is incredibly empowering.
I think all of scientific inquiry is creative. The types of questions that one can ask and that are inspired by our patients, the problems that they face.
Well, I learned a lesson. Don't ever skip a mammogram. Boy, you just can't let that slide. You can't, even through the worst of times. I think I did learn to really appreciate everything around me. I'm perfectly optimistic that I will remain healthy and live a long life.
I can now put my kids down. I can read to them. I can talk. It seems like a small thing, but we take it for granted. But for me, it's a wonder.
I think we have a new respect for mortality, and we just take every moment to its fullest.
And then personally in my work, of course, it's made me more motivated to make a difference in patients' lives because my work kind of parallels
It's such a clarifying experience to go through cancer treatment, and I really make an effort now to be with the people I care about, experience new things, not put off adventures for the future. I feel excited for the future, and that was something that was missing for a little bit during the dark days of treatment.